Today, we are exploring new frontiers in dumb bass music. This all started when I discovered Dance Diffusion, a neural network model that generates sounds based off of other sounds. Now, I did a dedicated video talking about some of the ethical concerns and potential future issues we might encounter when messing with AI, especially for creative work. But I like this one because you can train an AI model on your own sounds. And so I wanted to give it a go. I fed it a bunch of my own bass sounds. For context, this is the Colab notebook, so you can run this stuff with Google's graphics cards. There are a bunch of little modules. You link it to your Google Drive to pull sounds from, and then link it to weights and biases, which will basically archive each kind of step of the process. As far as I understand, I am not an expert. But what I ended up with was, as it trained the model, it would spit out sounds. And so I was then able to go through these samples that it had generated and cherry pick sounds that I liked. Now, I goofed on this a little bit because I halted the model and then tried to just run it to generate more sounds without doing any more training. And I couldn't get that to work all that well. And it seems to have some limitations. Like in some cases, it seemed to just kind of take two of the sounds that I gave it and mash them together kind of clunkily. And so it's got some limitations, but other people have taken it a lot farther than me. So the first beat that I'm going to show you is made using sounds that I had the model generate myself, based on sounds that I made and fed it. The second beat I'm going to show you is made using sounds by someone who took this a whole lot farther, and I'll link their sound packs in the description. They put them out for free, but I paid a little bit because it's like, hey, I'm going to be using these in a video, so I'm happy to toss them a few bucks. So here's the first beat using my sounds. That second half didn't come together that well, but hopefully you get the idea. This is what I mean when I say we are in new frontiers for dumb bass music. We're taking all of this cutting edge futuristic technology and using it to create dumb shit like this. So we've got a pretty simple drum track. Pretty basic kick and snare. This little 4 on the floor hi-hat, and then this with varying levels of triplet. Note repeat. Mostly just holding this down and then punching in little triplet bits like that. So far, hopefully pretty straightforward. And then our bass. There's just 3 sounds in this main section. So this, there's a lot going on there. It's still going. I quite like how garbled this one is. And you can see I've cherry picked the bit that I want. And I heard this little flow in it. Like by itself, it doesn't really work as like a main sound, but it does work as like a transitional sound that reinforces that triplet thing. And you can see it just generates these long strings of a bunch of little sounds, and not all of them are great. And some of them are straight up horrifying. There's another one that I end up using. And some of them just don't even make all that much sense. So I've mashed undo a few times to get us back to our normal version. This is like the main star of the show. And I've done very little to these sounds. I've added some tube drive and soft clipper to this, a little bit of soft clipper to both of these, but other than that, they're basically untouched. And then, of course, as is tradition, I've sidechained them to the kick. And then same deal with the second drop. I've just cherry-picked a few other sounds. I think we've already introduced this one. This one has that little kind of old school dubstep triplet wub thing, but it's not a great sound, and I probably shouldn't have used it. I should also mention that all of those sounds were sent to the same mute group so that they would cut each other off. But with that being said, let's move on to the second beat. So, similarly ridiculous. I think I like this one a little bit better. It sounds a little more polished because I'm using the sounds by the guy who's taken this a whole lot farther. I'm going to link their pack in the description, but regardless, they've actually gone through the hard work of like separating all these sounds out into one shots and like naming them and sorting them into folders and all of that, which is lovely. Much more like a traditional sample pack than a grab bag of random stuff. So this is how it's set up. We've got this first initial bass hit. This little triplet thing, once again, I've cut off the beginning to get it to just like lock into that groove. And then here's our little 3-parter main first half. So we've got this, our first element, our second element, and then this short little stab that's basically helping this loop cleanly. It almost is like a transitional element. It makes these elements feel like they could have been part of the same synth patch, for instance. Especially this. They sound very interconnected, and so it makes these 3 separate one-shots sound a lot more like one patch and make it feel a lot more continuous. This bit's fun. It's just that. And I've snapped to, I believe, 8th note triplets in this case. And at the very end, I've layered these 2 sounds. And with this one, I have cut some lows, added some distortion, and added ensemble, because I wanted to kind of stay out of the way of this main stab so they could coexist on top of each other. Even more simple drums. I believe most of these are eliminate drums. Virtual Riot's best friend. Side chaining the basses to the kick once again. And then I've added a few other layers. So this one's fun. This is using the FM plugin on the MPC. And I basically stumbled across this by accident because my initial plan was, okay, I've got my main drop, now let's just fill it out with some ambience. But then I stumbled onto this patch when going through the effects presets and went, hey, what if I just like layered this with the bass? So check this out. So it's just doing a little offbeat thing. But then when the second section kicks in, it follows the bass and I think rounds it out nicely and makes it feel like it makes a lot more sense, I guess. So wait for it. And I think it makes it feel a lot less like one static sample just being spammed repeatedly, although it's still kind of dumb. So then a couple layers of ambience. Let me show you those presets. Hubble, and Rings of Saturn. And isn't that nice? I did buy this particular plugin with my own money, by the way. Not an ad for Akai. You don't need the paid plugins, so on and so forth. And it's debatable as to how well they fit, but they at least make the track feel a lot less empty. So that's where I'm at so far with my exploration of using AI to generate sounds and then putting those sounds to truly great use. I think that this is one of the more interesting and maybe more productive use cases for creatives trying to use AI in their own work, because you can train stuff on your own models and because they are very explicitly pieces that you're meant to use in your own creativity. I don't know. I'm fairly optimistic about the use of neural networks and such to generate one-shot sounds that you can then use in your music. I think that could end up being pretty cool. It's also got its own set of caveats, but if you'd like some of those, you can check out this video up over here. And if you'd like to see my first pass at making bass music like this on the MPC with AI samples, you can check out this video down over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.